Well, hey everybody, this is Joe, and it's a Sunday afternoon in Albuquerque. I got my coolers running, the house is nice and cool. It's going to be a warm day, a warm week coming up here in the 90s. We went from spring to basically summer in about a week here. Hey, I'm going out this afternoon to the Flying Star Cafe on Rio Grande. I'm going to meet up with fellow Albuquerque typewriter conspirator Kevin Kittle and a gentleman from Denver, Colorado, and he's contacted me, and he's a typewriter nerd, and we're going to meet up. So I'm getting my some of my typewriters together and to meet up down at the Flying Star. So I decided I would bring three machines: my old 1930 Underwood portable, the 1970s style Hermes 3000, and my Olympia SF portable. I figure three machines is about all I need, and all three of these are really good performing machines. So that's what I'm bringing, along with a little bit of paper and a correction tape cartridge, and that's about it. So I had talked in the last video from the last type out we had at Penny Smith's Paper, which by the way is just adjacent to the Flying Star Cafe here. I had talked about wanting to start a impromptu, spur-of-the-moment kind of typewriter gathering, and here we have David from Denver, Colorado, and he came down, contacted me by email, I called Kevin, and here we have an impromptu typewriter gathering. We're with
David Thompson,
from Denver, and of course Kevin from Albuquerque. So we brought some typewriters here. So Kevin, what are you doing there?
Making one of the typewriter type by number or type by letter
artworks. Oh, this is
artworks.
Like paint by the numbers.
Paint by numbers, exactly.
Show us the little artwork you're doing here.
So this is what it'll be. There's the instructions for, in this case,
each line of type you're going to have to do.
Yeah, for a Persian cat.
A Persian cat.
And then I'm doing this on a typewriter ribbon that is turquoise. So actually it's going to be like a blue Persian.
Very cool.
So, well, and the ribbon matches the royal too.
The royal
emblem on the royal typewriter.
Yes. Right. Oh, I usually see these in red.
Right. So this one has blue on this one here, and then it is one of those typewriter ribbons that is the We Are. Typewriters, memory makers. And so this one, they have a variety of colors, black and something else, and this one's black and turquoise, which is kind of a cool color.
That is a cool combination.
And so, and it goes to prove that those new typewriter ribbons work on old typewriters just fine.
Okay, David, tell us what you brought today.
So this is an Erica M. It was made in September of 1938. It's most of the German typewriters, of course, have the Z where the Y is. This is actually an English QWERTY standard keyboard, so it's fairly rare for an Erica. It also has the pound sign.
Oh, very good.
So it probably was made for the British market. And it's very heavy. It's solidly built.
Yes.
We're going to have Joe pick it up in a minute so he gets a feel for it, but it's very solidly built.
Well, show us all the features on the keyboard. I was unfamiliar with some of the Erica features.
Well, the tab set and clear markers are here, and the margin set and clear are on the left side. Sort of an odd layout.
Yeah.
It also has an interesting feature where, watch what happens when I flip this little lever here. So you see what it does? It spaces an extra space in between each letter.
Yes, very cool.
So if you want to make a sign or some kind of a label or something like that, you can use that extra spacing.
That's a pretty neat feature.
Yeah.
And very heavily built and solidly built.
When I got it, the return lever was, the chrome on it was starting to come apart. And I took it to a guy in Denver who does that kind of thing, not chrome, but nickel plating.
Nickel plating,
So he said, I'll plate it for you. He said this was right about the time that they were just switching to chrome, and so that's why it was starting to disintegrate. And he re-plated it for me.
Oh, nice.
And the feet were all disintegrated when I got it. But there's this guy in California, Joe will get his name and link to him,
Yeah.
but he did a great job for me creating these new feet that he laid out of stock rubber parts, and I snapped them into place, and now it sits well on the Richard Bolt typewriter.
The Richard Bolt typewriter
pad.
So everything is approved. Typosphere approved.
Typosphere approved.
Very good, thanks, David. Okay, and Kevin, what did you bring? As you already showed us, but yeah.
Well, I'll turn it around again, though.
Yeah.
But it's a 1959 Royal Heritage. Was the Royal Futura sold via Montgomery Wards, and unlike the Erica, it has the magic margin, which is basically the same type of thing that the Erica has, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so it's from 1959, and it's like the Royal Futura, but it was just a single color. This was not the deluxe, so it didn't have the paper support in the back or the markings for the paper. But what I did is, since it has this nice little area on the part of the platen, I made my own markings for adjusting the paper thing.
Very good.
And it actually works. I just based it on the same principles, just kind of tested it, so it worked out. And it works pretty good as far as accuracy. And this typewriter, very nice action. I've had it for a number of years with a platen. And I went through a typewriting book and everything to reinforce my typewriting skills and get better at it. And I got up to 60 words per minute on this typewriter. And,
Very cool.
It works really well.
So this one has the logo where you push in to open the ribbon cover.
Right, ribbon cover.
Classic Royal. Yes.
Like that.
Yep.
And you have to open that also to change your color. The color is in there, and also the ribbon reverse.
The ribbon reverse. Oh,
And
that's pretty cool.
and it did not, because it was the more basic model, does not have the touch control lever on it.
But you find the touch to be pretty good.
Yeah, I on all my typewriters, I have them on the lightest setting anyway.
Yeah.
So I've never needed to make it any heavier for, I suppose, if I was doing 10 copies of papers or something, so that could really whack the heck out of it.
A Smith Corona number 5. You know the typewriter that's on the cover of Richard Bolt's book?
Yeah.
It's sort of a brown Smith Corona number 5.
Right.
It's actually the Sears Tower President.
Oh, wow.
So I have one of those, and that's a beautiful, solid machine.
Yeah.
And a couple of other 5s, and this one,
Yeah.
an SF, Olympia SM3,
right.
and an SM9.
How do you like the 3?
The 3's a beautiful machine. So this is the 3 in green. The
that's a
basic
great
green.
color.
Yeah, it's nice. And the Smith Corona 5 that they put a motor in, right, when they were electrifying them.
Him and I both have.
You guys have, you have one of those.
Yeah.
And this one is pink.
Oh, so that matches the blue.
Yeah, so I have a green, and you have a blue, and you have a pink.
I have a pink, and it's script font.
Oh, very nice. Oh, nice, nice.
And an Olivetti Letra 32, which I had to get because that was the typewriter I typed all my college papers on.
And you have a 32.
20.
Or 22, right.
The 32 is the one with the little sort of leatherette top.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit fancier looking, but it's basically
Cormac
the same
McCarthy,
machine.
right? That was
his machine. Right.
So we were saying earlier, you can only have so many typewriters in your collection.
There's a limit.
And your formula was
the number of typewriters you need is n+1.
Right.
That is the number you have now plus one more that you're looking at. Right. But there's a limiting factor if you're married and share a home with a spouse.
Which is W squared. Right.
Yeah,
Kevin says it's W squared. W squared
so
is...
The number of typewriters you need is n+1, but actually the number of typewriters you have to finish out the formula is n+1
And I think what's his name?
times W squared. Which basically you're trying to divide by 0, and so that's when you're not supposed to have that many.
But they are beautiful machines, that's what we appreciate about them.
Yes, indeed. Well, we have a Flying Star French dip sandwich, and we have a white wheat marble brewery drink, and we have typewriter people and typewriters. I didn't show you guys. I have the Underwood, the 1930 Underwood Portable, and my Olympia SF. I also brought a Hermes 3000. It's still in the car.
Oh, I like the Hermes 3000. Would you get that, and we can work on that too?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. I don't have one of those, and I'm looking at them online.
Well, it's after 8 o'clock in the evening, and I've had a great time with Kevin and David, and they might kick us out here. So we had a great time, spent hours and hours typing and talking and conversing and everything. So if you guys get a chance, get your local typewriter community together and go out to a cafe or wherever and talk about typewriters and type it up.
It's a real educational experience.
Yes, it's a real educational experience. Fantastic. Well, this is the day later, the morning after our impromptu gathering down at the Flying Star Cafe in Albuquerque, and I had a few thoughts about what happened, what transpired, and I didn't really take a chance to shoot as much video as I wanted to because I was, too focused on socializing and typing and whatnot. But I had arrived early. We had planned to meet at 2 p.m. and I arrived a little bit before then. The Flying Star Cafe, you stand in line to order, and then they give you a number, and then you sit, and then they deliver it to your table. So I stood in line. It was kind of busy around 2 o'clock. And I was standing around looking out at the patio area to see if there was any tables open, and it was pretty busy, but there was this long wooden table right by the windows of the building, and I thought, oh man, I hope nobody grabs that table. And luckily enough, nobody did, because there was plenty of room at that table. So our guest was David, and he's a law professor from Denver, Colorado. He came down to Santa Fe to stay a few weeks and for kind of a personal retreat. And he's aware of this channel and my blog, and he had emailed me about, hey, maybe we can get together since I'm going to be down in central New Mexico. So we had a really interesting discussion during the typewriter gathering about his feelings around what he calls this hybrid between analog and digital technology. And he is really kind of in the mindset right now of wanting to formulate those ideas in more of a formal kind of a paper or position. I really don't do any justice to this as the way he was expressing it, but I really look forward to seeing what he does come up with in regards to how traditional writing technology can work well alongside a certain workflow of digital technology. So we had numerous older people my age and older, stopping by to thank us for bringing out these typewriters. Some of these people hadn't seen a typewriter since they were in high school, decades ago, and a few of them sat, and we invited them to sit down and type, and they enjoyed it. I think the biggest highlight of the day, though, was toward the end. And by the way, we stayed, I think Kevin and I stayed almost 6 hours. But toward the end of it, we had this young 11-year-old boy. His family was eating inside the restaurant. He came out, was really curious about it, so we sat him down originally on my Underwood 1930 portable and got him acquainted with the keys and how to hit them, the proper force and speed, and he started enjoying typing on it. And then he went back into the restaurant and came out with his 10-year-old sister, and so she sat down at the Underwood while he sat down at my Olympia SF, and they both had a great time. I think he started really getting used to the Olympia SF, and he wrote on another piece of paper that he was really wishing he could stay longer and type with it, but his parents were ready to go, and they came out and thanked us profusely for allowing their children to use the typewriters. And afterwards, after they left, we were so encouraged by that. And again, we've seen this before at other typewriter gatherings, how much young kids, they enjoy typewriters. That Kevin and I started brainstorming this idea that there should be what we call a typewriter academy. And I'm thinking of it in terms of a lot of communities have these math academies, or they're essentially private businesses that parents will pay to take their kids in after hours or on the summer vacation and help tutor them in math, build up their math skills. It would be interesting to have a typing academy, not in the sense of trying to reproduce the typing classes, but more along the lines of using manual and electric typewriters as an enabling technology to encourage young adults to creatively write. And so it's not about as much teaching them how to touch type at a certain speed and proficiency to be a secretary. No, it's about these are enabling technologies. It becomes easier to write faster than handwriting. And there is a certain hook that the kids are attracted to with both electric and manual typewriters because of their manual and focused nature as compared to computers and word processors. I think there's something there. I'm not saying I'm going to go out and start a typewriter academy, but I think there's something there. A typewriter academy sounds like a way to attract kids to help build their creative writing skills. So that was something that we talked about. We talked about a whole lot of stuff during the 6 hours that we were there. There's one more thing I wanted to mention before I close, and that is our guest, David, was so kind to gift me with a typewriter. I came to the Type Out with 3 typewriters. Kevin brought 1 typewriter and David brought 2, one of which was this kind of Adobe Brown Royal Quiet Deluxe. And he gave it to me because it has a mechanical problem. And he wasn't certain that he'd be able to fix it himself, and he thought that it would be a kind of a neat way to encourage me to put out another video on typewriter repair. So the problem with this typewriter I've already fixed it. The right third of the keyboard, when you type the letters, wouldn't move. All the 2/3 of the left-hand keyboard would move. And so looking underneath the machine, this is the back of the machine, there is this bar that has 2 support brackets, and as you operate the machine, the linkages, they move the universal bar, which has a linkage that moves this, which operates the escapement. So this shoulder screw right here was missing. The one on the other side of this black bar was in place, but this one was missing. So this bar, instead of simply pivoting, was kind of being pushed out of the way, and it caused the escapement not to operate on those right-hand third linkages. I was looking around in the machine, and I actually found a screw that's sitting in the machine near the left side of the carriage, but it's not the right screw. I still have to figure out where that one is. What I did is I figured, well, if it fell out, it might have fallen out in the case. And sure enough, in the lid of the case, somebody had some blue tape, and they had this screw taped to the lid of the case inside. So I just reinstalled that shoulder bolt, and now the spacing works fine on all the keys. I still need to clean the machine up. It's pretty dirty, a lot of eraser crumbs from years and years of use. But I had talked about, after the last Type Out, we had talked about wanting to get more impromptu gatherings together, and this is kind of the kickoff of that. It was really spurred on by our guest David, who had visited New Mexico, but I really want to start doing this more often, just an impromptu gathering. I really see a lot of benefit in that, in the spontaneity of it, and so I hope we can do that more in the future, and I hope you guys in your own community can start to gather together in public settings and restaurants and whatever, and cafes, and start to use your typewriters and start to socialize with your typewriters. And so this is Joe Van Cleve. We had a great time yesterday at our impromptu typewriter gathering, and until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.